Pat Barrett, and this is Women's Radio 2. We are so happy now to include men also, and that's where the name comes from. And it's because there are so many wonderful women and men in this group that we've targeted called the Cultural Creatives. And a lot of the copy and content that we provide is because we know the things that this group wants. And that's got to be you because you're here. And I hope that you'll bring your friends back. I have my a guest today that has been with us some time ago. She had written a book, and we talked about that, and it was called Follow the Pipeline. Now she has done even more work, and her research has led her to having some very interesting revelations about what's going on in the Gaza Strip and with the war over there. So it's my very great pleasure to welcome back to Women's Radio 2, Charlotte Dennett. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, Pat. Happy to be back with you.
Yes, well, we're happy to have you because this is such an important topic. And it's funny, I don't watch the news anymore. And to tell you the truth, I think one reason, Charlotte, is because when you got people like yourself who really dig and dig and dig and are looking to tell the truth, as they see it, certainly, but the evidence is certainly pretty overwhelming, then it's much better to listen to firsthand information, which is what I consider yours to be. So, give us a little bit of background because you can do it so much better than I can. A little bit of background about how all of this started. It started by your researching how your father died. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, my father was head of counterintelligence in the Middle East right after World War II. He was with the Central Intelligence Group, which grew out of the OSS. It was the immediate predecessor of the CIA. And his last top secret mission was to Saudi Arabia. And his mission was to look at the route of a pipeline that was going to be built crossing Saudi Arabia and terminating on the coast on the eastern Mediterranean. It was called the Trans-Arabian Pipeline. And there were two possible terminal points. One was in Lebanon, and the other one was in Haifa, then Palestine. So you got to pull out your maps, folks. It's the best way to understand all these conflicts in the Middle East. The whole Eastern Mediterranean was key to transporting oil from Iraq, and Saudi Arabia to Europe by having these pipelines terminate in the Mediterranean. So his plane crashed in March 1947. He was headed to Ethiopia. It was another oil mission, I assure you. But I was 6 weeks old. It was only later when I was an adult, and I had my first career in journalism in Beirut, Lebanon, writing for the Daily Star and other magazines, and I was traveling all over and felt I was following his footsteps. Anyway, uh, to cut short, investigating it, and I got hold of his last report and his last letter home. I found that this pipeline was a huge, huge event, primarily because the U.S. got an exclusive concession in Saudi Arabia, and they knew there was huge amounts of oil there. And in fact, what happened is the pipeline turned the United States into a superpower, not only in the Middle East, but in the world. So that got me started. There was a great article in the New York Times, March 2, 1947. I've got a little copy here, and there's a map here too. But the title is Pipeline for U.S. Adds to Middle East Issues. And get this, oil concessions raise questions involving the position of Russia. So I started to look into that. And this whole article is a story about how our former allies, they were all sort of concerned about this new American presence. And they were deeply, deeply jealous of the fact that America had this concession. That's when I got into the concept of the great game for oil. And I've I've sort of taken the cues from that and followed all the way up to the present. And what I found over and over and over again, all these wars in the Middle East are about oil. I mean, most people sense it, but they don't know the details. And the details that I provide in my book is follow the pipelines. Because oil, what good is it if it's sitting in the ground? You got to ship it to market, right? And it's through distribution that a lot of money is made, and it's crucial, but you got to protect the roots. And I got one of my father's reports before he was sent to Lebanon about what he was supposed to do. It was heavily redacted, but one line was left out, and it said, "We must control the oil of Saudi Arabia at all costs." So this got me started too. And what I have found out is that protecting the oil at all costs has become a meme, and it's gone all the way up to the present. But the point is, you never hear about it, ever. I challenge any one of your viewers to watch any analysis, say on the cable TV networks, that give the oil connection, for instance, to the war in Gaza. They won't talk about it. And the reason is oil is the fuel of the military. It's still the fuel of the military. Germany ran out of oil, gas for its military in both world wars and lost both world wars because their machine ran out of gas. So this is why even today, great powers are searching the world for new oil and gas reserves, and they're all competing against each other because, and that's what's going on in Ukraine, big time. But we can get to that later. You know, if you just heard Trump saying you're going to Russia's shipping its oil to India, so I'm going to punish India. I mean, come on, it's beginning to come out, but the full story isn't told. I think I'm the only person who's told the full story. Follow the pipelines, and I can talk to you about Gaza if you'd like.
Yes, let's talk about Gaza. So, my brother and I got into a very big discussion, and it's interesting what people focus on. So he's focused on Hamas, and I was focused on the poor, starving people, Palestinians, and we were arguing basically about who's at fault for that. And now
Yeah.
what you're saying is who's at fault are the people who are doing everything to get rid of the Palestinians altogether from the Gaza Strip. Have have you heard that?
That is true. Well, yeah, the reason is ever since the year 2000, oil was discovered off the coast of Gaza, all right, and also off the coast of Israel. Two big finds, one in 2000, another in 2010. So now there's about $500 billion worth of oil and natural gas off the coast of Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, Syria. All right. And it has been the dream of Netanyahu to develop that and to turn Israel into an energy corridor. And that's why you got to look at a map that shows the Eastern Mediterranean. And the thing is, there are big infrastructure plans afoot, but and I can describe them. But in order to make them happen, they need financing from a bank or major banks. They won't finance a project like this if there is conflict. In a way, it makes sense, right? And also, pipelines have often been sabotaged in the past, in the Middle East and elsewhere. So, what is the solution? The solution is depopulate, demilitarize, flatten Gaza, get rid of the Palestinians, send them off, and then you can lay your pipelines. And the
Oh, and
biggest
by the way,
one,
that Trump can build his dream over there.
yeah, his
Up in
Riviera.
yeah, his
Yeah,
Riviera.
that's part of it. That's part of it. But he'll only talk about the real estate. He won't talk
Right,
about the oil.
right,
No
right,
one
right.
talks about the oil. And let me give you one little insight I only got recently. There's a very brave woman who's the first woman to sue Big Oil over the death of her mother, who died in a climate dome. This was out west, and the heat was so unbearable. Her mother died in a car, and she did a personal injuries lawsuit, wrongful death against Big Oil, saying they lied to the American people about the dangers, as we all know, of fossil fuel emissions and causing climate change. And the defense from Big Oil was, um, this is going to be harmful to our company and to, well, they wouldn't say profit, but they said this would be too harmful to us. And then they said, uh, all the members of Congress all know this, that this is a national security issue. Wow, that blew my mind because that tells you members of Congress won't talk about it. It's been drilled into their head that big oil has to be protected. Guess what? At all costs. So, anyway, so there's those of us who are trying to tell the truth. And the latest big project, one is called the India Middle East European Canal, and it's going to connect India. It's going to cross the Arabian Sea and go into Saudi Arabia, cross the peninsula, and terminate in Haifa, Palestine. In fact, it's sort of following the same route as the Trans-Arabian pipeline that my father was looking at, which was built in the early 50s but got closed during the Lebanese Civil War in 1992. So what this is what Netanyahu wants to do. He wants to transform the whole area. And I've got plenty of documentation of this in my book. Then there's another project that's come up, which they call the Great Gaza Post-War Plan. And you can Google that. And there's this amazing picture. See that?
Yes.
All these skyscrapers and stuff, but you can see those lines in this picture. Those are railroad tracks on one side. They don't identify what is the other side, but I will bet you it's a pipeline route. And so the idea is you tap the oil and natural gas of Israel, and then you send it up the coast of the Mediterranean, and this is how you supply Europe, which is energy starved, well, pretty much ever since the Nord Stream 2 pipeline in Ukraine was sabotaged. They were going to get even more cheap Russian oil, and instead it was sabotage. And the Ukrainian has been arrested, but it was even under the Biden administration. He said this pipeline cannot go through, and this is just symbolic of the great game for oil. They're all competing against each other. And what the U.S. is trying to do is to prevent Russia from, yes, selling more oil, not only to India, but countries all over the world. This is one way how it's been able to withstand all the sanctions and so on, because it's a huge, huge oil power, right? And so there's all these bypass efforts to avoid Russia. And you go back to this map of 1947, and concerns about the position of Russia. So the concern has been for 70 years. They're still competing against each other. And at what cost? How many lives have been
Yeah, and on top of
because of
that, I
these?
think Ukraine was. I don't know the reasons why Russia invaded Ukraine. They don't seem very sensible to me. And but they obviously clearly did it with motivation. And
Well, for one thing, I'll just give you an oil analysis. The Donbass region, that's the whole eastern Ukraine. Um, Ukraine has the largest deposits of oil and natural gas in second largest next to Russia in Europe, if you consider
ah,
Russia part of Europe.
so
It's
they want it.
hugely wealthy.
So
It's hugely
it's
wealthy.
really about resources and who's
It is
gonna.
about resources, and
Yes,
the resources above all is the oil and natural gas in the eastern. That's the richest part. That's where you remember the name Burisma. There's all this talk about Burisma and whether Hunter Biden was on the board. And well,
yes,
it
yes.
turns out the West was really interested in getting Burisma to develop that oil and natural gas in the eastern region. Meanwhile, Russia has laid claim to it. They're Russian-speaking people that live there, and they're determined to hold on to it. But it's really about the resources. You
Yeah.
can talk about the other mineral wealth, of which there's an abundance in Ukraine, but nothing surpasses, even to this day, the need for oil. And that's because of the military thrives on it. And anybody who's in the
Uh,
army and the military knows this.
I've got something else to add to that. You know, now the other big use for natural gas
What? What are
is
you saying?
all the big, big, big warehouses that they're making to put these supercomputers in that require being cooled all the time. So they need
Oh,
gas and they need water.
well, thank you. I just learned something today.
Yes,
Thank you, Pat.
and it is big, big, big money. Very
All
big.
right. I got to look that up and send me
And
any
and
link you got.
and and then what is helping to decide who the superpower is going to be in 5 or 10 years? It's AI.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of scary, isn't it? Well, I
Well,
mean,
I mean,
AI will decide, and then the question is who puts it in place and when does AI, end up controlling us, which is what people are
I
really
think that's
concerned about.
interesting. Yes, you're so
Yeah.
right. Isn't that interesting? Who's controlling whom?
Yeah. Well,
Or
actually,
what?
I'm thinking I'm finally getting around to doing a Substack. I'm just about ready to launch it, and I think I'm going to call it Cui Bono, who benefits. We don't look at that enough. And
Right.
and it's essential. It
It is
explains
essential.
everything. You got to go to the top. Once you go to the highest level,
Yes.
I wrote a book on the Rockefellers with my husband, and it was about the conquest of the Amazon and Nelson Rockefeller, by the way. And it was a real lesson. You got to go to the
Well,
top of the mountain, and then you look down. Everything starts to make sense.
yes, you're so right. And thank goodness for you, who's gone to the top of the mountain and given
Yeah,
us a lot of insight. So,
right.
what the other thing people, I mean, as I was saying, I had this big discussion with my brother about the condition of the Palestinian people. And there's hardly anybody I have ever talked to, I don't care what their politics are, who hasn't thought that the Palestinian people in Gaza are getting the roughest end of the stick and unwarranted and not right, not humane.
Yeah. No,
So there,
yeah, it's
now they
amazing.
want, I understand they want to take them all. They want to take them all and send them to the Sudan, and that such
Yeah.
a deal has already been made. And the Sudan
Uh,
can't even sustain life on its own.
Absolutely. And guess what? That's all about oil too. That's a whole nother conversation. Why send them off to suffer and oh my God, it's just horrible. It's so disgusting and appalling. I mean, it's so hard to watch television because most of us feel
Really?
powerless.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, you
Accept
there got to be
instant
some really
knowledge.
wealthy people that are benefiting from this, that just as soon let it happen. If you get rid of the Palestinians, the problem will go away. No, they've got
No.
memories. They've got memories. And I once read that if you starve a people, they'll starve you. They'll eat you back. I mean, that's, extreme.
Well, I mean, I don't want to
What
bring
is,
religion into it, but there is for all of the various outlooks about religion and so forth. I think that people have come a long, long way in discovering that there is an underlying energy in the universe that has these amazing qualities. So I don't think that we can thwart uh, such a power indefinitely without repercussions.
well, what I'm trying to do is to take the argument above the Arab versus Jew,
Amen.
conflict because
Amen. And you're
because
doing that.
because it's I understand the deep feelings on both sides.
But it's
By the
still
way,
about money and
guess
power.
who were the guess who were the first people who warned about the role of oil in conflict? Guess who they were? Well, I'll tell you because we're short on time. They were survivors of the Holocaust who had been able to escape the killing machines and had been able to migrate into Palestine. And in 1944, they were seen holding up signs that said "No blood for oil." And why did they say that? Because they had come to understand that the Roosevelt administration did not act fast enough to rescue the Jews because he was depending on Saudi oil to transform America into a world power and to help Europe recover from World War II and to support the Marshall Plan. That's all documented in my book too. So, but they were the first to know it, and then it just got wiped out. Instead, anyone who raises criticism of Israel is accused of being anti-Semitic. I found out that went back to 1944.
Well,
Yeah, that was when it was first sort of weaponized. And of course, then it was very powerful because of the horrors of the Holocaust.
right.
But it has persisted today. But I think a lot of people are saying, we're not buying this anymore. You can't always say that criticism of Israel is because of anti-Semitism. But again, I don't get into those weeds as much. I want to say that the same culprits that are bringing us global warming and harming our planet are bringing us these endless wars. It's all been documented, and our very survival is going to be at stake
Well,
because it could
I
lead
hate to
to
put the big
nuclear.
question to you, but here it is. So what can we do about it? So have you have
Well, what can we do? We don't have the only power we have is people power, and they're
it is.
worried about people war. Don't kid yourself. The boys on top, they worry about it, but that's the way. I mean, it's like people like you and me and people who are trying to get the truth out there. Look at I've never seen such a sea change with regard to people's understanding of the plight of the Palestinian people as now. I mean, it's extraordinary.
It is.
And some will say, what Hamas did on October 7th was horrible. And what I would argue is the full investigation has not been completed about that raid and about how much Israel knew ahead of time, and whether and I will suggest this that Netanyahu let it happen because then it gave him the perfect pretext to do this slaughter of the Palestinians. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, kidnapping and killing Israelis. Of course, that's horrible and traumatic, but there's more to the story, and I don't know if it'll ever come out. Netanyahu is so keen on staying out of prison and holding on to power. I don't know whether it'll ever come out, but
Well, he
the
and Trump look like that
understanding.
they're kissing cousins.
Oh God, they both want to stay out of jail. You said him and Trump, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That
That
and
I
that
mean,
and grab everything they can and
oh
like
God, what
well,
kind of a world are we living in that letting these criminals ruin our lives? It's
well,
it's shocking, but more and more people are speaking up. We
I
gotta
hope more
work
and more
fast
people are
though.
waking up. I hope more and more people have inquiring minds like you do, Charlotte. Without an inquiring mind, without a mind and a conscience that wants to know the truth, I think that we're in very deep trouble. And
Yeah. And the thing is, time is of the essence now because
yes,
the crackdown is beginning, as we
yes,
can all see.
yes, right here in
That's what
our own backyard. Well, that
they
and part
did
of
under
and part of
Hitler.
it is also all these new warehousing going up for the purpose of
Yeah, oh,
AI. Check it
that's
out
so
and
interesting.
see who's at the top of the heap and see where all of the those things are being built and who's allowing that and where they're getting the water from and so forth and so on.
Oh, so interesting.
Yeah, so you're going to
Send
be
me a
kept busy.
link.
You're going to be kept busy for quite a long time.
I guess I am. I guess I am, Pat. But
Well,
thank you for your work.
well, thank you. And I want, we're kind of running out right now, but I want you to come back because I think it would be great if to spend some more time talking about what's going on in Ukraine. And we'll
Hmm.
just, and bring maps next time, maybe have a big map drawn or something we could put
Yeah,
up. That'd be interesting. I
yeah.
think you're
The
right.
math.
I think that if you can see where things are located and see where you can point and say, here was the pipeline and this is where this is moving and so forth and
Yeah.
so on.
Oh, the map of Ukraine is incredible. It's absolutely crisscrossed with pipelines that were built by the Soviets. And Europe was getting all this cheap natural gas, and the West didn't like it. That'll be for our next conversation.
Yes, it will be. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much. This has been so, so interesting.
Well, thank you,
And
Pat. I really appreciate it.
oh, you bet. Well, we'll push it out and we'll see push it up and push the flag up and see who salutes, huh?
Well, if you have a question, just follow the pipelines.
That's right. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for being
See
my
ya.
guest.